Dear friends, I hope all are doing well and fine despite these challenging situations that continue until today, unfortunately. A lot of increase in infection cases, many deaths, and um, scenarios are expected to worsen in the coming 2 weeks, at least in Palestine. It would be the very critical 2 weeks to come. It is the 7th of April at around 2 a.m. and I'm trying to fill you in with updates on the situation in Palestine. Since the last time I talked on the 3rd of April, uh, almost the numbers have doubled. We have about 237 cases of infected people spread in different governorates, partly because of return of some infected workers on the Israeli side. Now, the situation might worsen or not, depending on how many workers are infected that will be uh, returned to the Palestinian areas from the Israeli side, between 30,000 to 50,000. What I heard just a few minutes ago that probably the Israelis will not send all workers home during Easter vacations because they need the people who work in health, in building, in agriculture to continue working, which of course another possibility to get infected and without really any protections. Now, the Palestinian workers who work on the Israeli side, their bosses are paying them their salary, but all health insurance, risk insurance, or even agreement with the Palestinian Authority on the rights of these workers are not granted. So it is a very challenging situation on human rights level, on workers' rights level. Even the Israeli Workers' Union Histadrut takes a percentage of that, but nothing is paid back after these workers return home or not working anymore. Still, we have the Palestinian Authority have managed to do 12,500 tests for the coronavirus, and as I said, until today, 237 cases were discovered, put in quarantine, and some in home quarantine. About 17 of these cases have recovered, one death, unfortunately. And these varies from 1 year, 8 months old to 75 years old. So it's all age ranges that have been exposed. On the other level, also just a meeting with the Minister of Health, Palestinian Minister of Health. One of the dangers that were declared by the Israeli military, which is on opposition to the Israeli Minister of Health, in fact, is that the Palestinians are not equipped well for health emergencies. And so one of the scenarios is to annex the West Bank. And of course, I guess the Palestinian Authority and emergency response that was carried on have demonstrated that it was much more efficient and professional than the Israeli reactions. Tomorrow, according to the Israeli Prime Minister, they will force curfew all over till Friday, because of Jewish Easter holidays. And of course, then the business works or what not work, I don't know, but the situation is not as controlled one way or the other. The actions in Area C, which is normally under full Israeli control, are not carried on by the Israelis, but the protection, the tests, and so on medical level are carried on by the Palestinian Authority. So this is another burden, and Israelis escapes all its responsibilities on every way and over every level, and the Palestinian Authority carries the burden with that, let alone the Israeli incursions and even sometimes exposing people to danger because, for example, in areas like Susia and Melkhair in the south of Hebron, people try to put kind of control point or local checkpoints for the workers who are coming back from the Israeli side to be tested, to be controlled, at least temperature test or whatever, and to control them to be put in home quarantines and so on. But the Israelis have pushed these people away and removed these posts of control by the local communities. So this is another way also of exposing people to danger and allowing people just to return home without any control and anything. On the official level, the Palestinian Authority has put some areas, caravans or medical teams at different passage points, and they try to do just the screening with the temperature test and random swab tests and so on, but not everybody is tested, of course. Just the cases that show some symptoms or have high temperature and so on. And most are going back to home quarantine, which is another danger for all the families if these workers and their families do not observe the precautions that are needed. The Palestinian minister on Jerusalem have been arrested, and one of the things that happened is that they would try to force the Israeli soldiers try to force him to wear a mask, but this mask was dirty and have blood on it. And finally, he was released after a few days, and in fact, today he was released with a fine of 15,000 shekels and so on. So another pressure on the eastern part of Jerusalem, on the Palestinian side, and so on. Yet, of course, the movement is restricted within this East Jerusalem area. People have to wear masks and gloves when they move around normally, according to the recommendations. And people are allowed to circulate within 100 meters from their homes to buy food or whatever. And this puts some limit circulation of cars and so on. In what concerns the Aida refugee camp and other refugee camps, of course, the struggle remains with partly the workers coming back, and hopefully everybody will be safe and healthy. And until today, there is the emergency response teams within the different governorates, whether it was with the Palestinian Authority or local communities, like in our case in Aida camp with the Popular Committee and institutions in Aida camp with the UNRWA director, United Nations Relief and Works Agency director of the camp, try to provide health disinfectants, hygiene materials, and so on, and disinfect public areas, institutions, streets, and so on. But still, mosques and neighboring churches and so on are all closed. Yesterday, there was a meeting with the mayor of Bethlehem, with the local community in Aida, the emergency committee in Aida, and they visited also the Franciscan Sisters convent to see if they need anything and so on, and coordinate with them in case of need, because our community is mixed population, Muslim and Christian, and so on. But everybody is healthy, alhamdulillah, everybody is fine. There is a few families who are in quarantine with some of the workers who returned, and they respected that. Some, of course, unfortunately, still try to run away or hide, but everybody is keeping their eyes open and try to do the best. There is some shortage within medicine for some chronically ill people. Recently, for example, a young girl, 25 years old, who have done spine, bone marrow transplantation, and so on. And so they need weekly medicine and so on. Other cases of the chronic diseases of diabetes, hypertension, and so on, pressure. But we have been trying to provide whatever we can need in the emergency committee. whether with local donations or our friends' donation on international level, who have been generous enough despite the challenging situation that you are living in. We are deeply thankful for all our friends who try to support with whatever means they have, whether it's financial or prayers or sending messages or writing things to us and so on, or calling and phoning and so on. So thank you all. There has been some also supporting with some masks, gloves, all medicine as well. And with local pharmaceutical companies like Bijala Pharmaceuticals and Al-Quds Pharmaceuticals, as well as they have already donated some for chronically ill people, some medicine. And we are expecting another donation from Birzeit Pharmaceutical Company. Others we have to buy with the donations we have, or agreements that we have with some of the pharmacies on reduced prices and so on. So we are again deeply thankful for all those who supported these donations or help in getting medicine to those who are needy. On local level, UNRWA has been absent on the social level. So the social affairs department is completely closed. No help is donated for people on food issues or whatever. Yet the sanitation is working perfectly, and they have been also very helpful in sanitization and disinfection of streets and areas. And some of the chronic ill people who receive still some diabetes and hypertension or cardiac medicine within the limits that UNRWA Clinic can provide. And the UNRWA director is helping and trying to get the medicine from the UNRWA clinic in the Hisha refugee camp. But still there is on social food, social cases, they are completely out of help on that level by UNRWA. So it's completely paralyzed, and they do not do anything because they are afraid, or the workers who are working the social departments are afraid to get to the camps and so on, which is, of course, a huge shortage. And UNRWA is responsible about the situation in the camp. It's welfare and relief agency that was created for Palestinian refugees, and they are not doing their job on this level in terms of relief and help for these communities that are besieged on one side by this corona infection, and on the other side also by the Israeli military occupation. Today there was, yesterday I mean, there has been distribution of 200 packages of food, which were donated also from the Palestinian president. And so he had from time to time sent some shipments of food packages to different areas in the governorates and refugee camps and so on, as well as from other people. So until today we are doing well. Everybody is fed, and nobody, alhamdulillah, is hungry. The Palestinian Authority have put a scenario for another month of interdiction of circulation and limiting movements for people and so on. So another month after, now it's 33 days of closure and limitation of circulation for Aida camp and Bethlehem governorate, and it would be another month. Palestinian Authority is trying to put some scenarios for what is after that. The critical situation is expected between today and 23rd of April, because partly of the expected return of some of the Palestinian workers, and because of the new cases that have appeared, and to see how many have been infected with this. So hopefully everybody will be fine. Now, we are very hopeful that with the precautions that everybody is taking, that we will conquer this disease and we will limit its expansion and everybody will pass through this challenge. We hope that every one of you will be safe and healthy as well. When we look at the numbers all over the world, it is disturbing and challenging, and that some people do not look seriously on this case and do not restrain themselves from moving around and going out and so on, and probably expose themselves and others to danger. So hopefully everybody will be responsible and so on. Despite all of this, we don't have this luxury of despair, so we continue to be hopeful that we are important people and who can help others to be healthy and safe, and provide every opportunity for people to keep their dignity and humanity and reject all these political statements about reopening businesses and so on soon, before the situation is sure that people are safe when they come to their work and so on. So be well, be safe, dear friends. A lot of stories are happening. People who are getting married alone, unfortunately. The groom comes to the house, take his wife, and without celebrations, without meetings, without all these songs and dances and so on. Some people are trying to help with the means they have. Some shops are exposing some of their products to open use if people are needy, then they can take without paying and so on. So fortunately, there are things that are positive in this, and hopefully this is happening in different countries and so on. And people have created initiatives like inviting others to pay some debt from grocery stores or whatever for people who cannot afford to pay and so on. So there is a beautiful solidarity and common work to help people keep their dignity and not feel that they are isolated or marginalized. Hopefully this would be a greater lesson for political leaders and businessmen, because workers who work on the private sector have been given half of a salary. Palestinian Authority is facing huge challenges, and they have invited people to donate online to support the government in their efforts to respond to this crisis. The capacity of testing for the virus is now up to 1,500 samples, according to the Prime Minister, per day. We have 7 apparatuses that can do the testing. Still, we are short in the ventilators, respiratory devices, which are about 129 all over the West Bank and Gaza. And that's why all the effort is to limit the expansion of the disease and to limit the circulation of people and to make them feel responsible. And some measures have been with fines and so on to restrain people from doing irresponsible actions. Now, I want to tell you that we are all also thinking of you all over the world, all our friends or not friends who love us or who don't love us. We hope that you will be safe and healthy and pass this challenge. And we hope that nobody will be separated from his beloved ones, and everybody will return safe from wherever they are and meet whoever they want and be well. And maybe this would teach us to be more humble and more understanding for those who suffer and those who are isolated and those who are marginalized, and that now we are on equal grounds. All of us, regardless of our color or religion or ethnicity or whoever, we are restrained in our own homes by a simple microorganism that have moved our life upside down. And that all the weapons and massive destruction people create do not protect any single one, including the presidents or the prime ministers and these rich people, from being exposed or confected to this virus. So hopefully more humility and more understanding for those who suffer, and more empathy to those who suffer. Be well, my friends. Be safe. God bless you, and our hearts and prayers are with you, with our people here or all over the world. Much love and best wishes for the years to come. Inshallah, we will see you in Palestine safe, and whatever country it is, I hope we will meet soon. Thank you.